Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Shannon. I am a librarian with NOAA Central Library. We are very excited for this presentation on the 2024 Temperature Blanket Stitch Along, and this is going to be about finding data with National Weather Service, NCEI, and NOAA Central Library. And I'm joined today by Kurt Kotenberg and Jared Rennie from the National Weather Service and NCEI, respectively. Really excited to get started. Just before that, to go over a few logistics. If you have any audio or visual problems in GoToWebinar, just try logging out and logging back in. Very simple, but it usually solves most problems. The recording will be available later, so if all else fails, you'll be able to watch this presentation afterwards. And everybody today is muted, so if you have any questions, please send those into the questions box in your control panel. Not sure if we will have enough time for questions. This is going to be a very tight 30 minutes, but if you do have questions that we don't get to, we'll follow up with you via email afterwards. And that follow-up will also contain a bunch of important links. Anybody who registered for today's presentation will receive that. So the agenda today, I'm going to do a really quick introduction about this program. Then I will hand things off to Kurt to talk about finding some current data. Then we'll go to Jared for historical and unique types of data. And then if there's time, we'll have some questions. So I'd just like to take a moment to introduce my two co-speakers today. Kurt Kotenberg is the Warning Coordination Meteorologist of the National Weather Service located in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Packers, he says. Kurt is coming from a household that is, diehard Buffalo fans. I said that with as much enthusiasm as possible. Please forgive me. So before joining the National Weather Service, Kurt was an on-air broadcast meteorologist for WEAU-TV in Eau Claire. Kurt earned his BS and MS degrees in atmospheric sciences from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and in 2015, an MBA from Iowa State University. Kurt also serves as a National Weather Service representative on the NOAA Education Council and is always looking for opportunities to continue growing his leadership and management KSAs. And we also have Jared Rennie joining us. Originally from New England, Jared received both his Master of Science and Bachelor of Science degrees in meteorology from Plymouth State University in Plymouth, New Hampshire. In 2010, he joined the North Carolina Institute for Climate Studies and worked alongside federal employees at NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Information. His work included climate research and visualizations, and he's worked with many groups, including FEMA, CDC, and the Society of Actuaries. And in 2021, he pivoted and became a member of the NCEI federal workforce, bridging the gap between climate and socioeconomic data. So Kurt and Jared, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really excited to have you here, and we will be hearing from you later. I'm going to try to just blitz through everything that I have to say so that we can get to your information. So just to do a quick introduction of this project, before anything else, I want to say thank you to everyone who's attending today. Everyone who reached out to us and has told us you're excited about this project. There's been so much enthusiasm, and it has made it so much more enjoyable for us to plan this program. It's the first year that we're doing this. Today, we are focusing on finding data. And I know that many of you have already contacted us asking about how to select materials and colors and what patterns we're going to be using. We will send all of that documentation to you after the presentation today. All of that will be emailed to you, and it will be available on our website to find at any point as well. So look for that after the presentation today. So this program consists of two main parts. First, we have a seminar series that's going to focus on science communication through the arts. This is a quarterly series, and it's going to be highlighting how different NOAA offices use art for their programmatic activities. Like all of our seminars, it's going to be open to the public, and we currently have one presenter spot left. So if you know of any offices or programs or labs that use art for activities, and if you want to present on that, we would love to hear from you. We have some great speakers lined up, and we're really excited about that. And the next piece that we are all here today to hear about is the temperature blanket sit-along. So what is a temperature blanket? I think most attendees today know what it is, but just so we're all on the same page, temperature blanket is a visual representation of year-long data. As the name suggests, it's usually about temperature, but it can really be about any type of data that occurs over the course of a year. These blankets have been really popular in knitting and crocheting communities for years, and they have expanded to include all sorts of projects. So anything from scarves to wall hangings, and they've also bridged the gap to other crafts. And I know there are a bunch of cross stitchers here today. So it's really exciting to see all of these ways that these projects are kind of organically springing up. Just to show you a few examples of what that looks like, 3 examples of knit blankets. On the far left, you'll see just a really simple blanket of horizontal knit stripes. That's going to be what our pattern that we provide to you is going to look like. In the center, you can see a different way of doing that, splitting up the data into 3 panels. And then on the far right, you may be able to see that that person took 2 colors for each square. So they actually took the low temperature for a day and high temperature for a day and created a really unique blanket out of that. Next, we have some crochet examples. As a knitter, this is making me feel very jealous of everyone who can crochet. These are just 3 different ways of conceptualizing different data. You have the classic granny square on the far left. You have 12 squares symbolizing those 12 months in the center. And then on the far right, which I think is just the coolest thing, you have that high and low temperature again. So there are so many ways that you can make your project a little more complicated and a little more fun than just those plain horizontal stripes. So what is this temperature blanket project at the NOAA Central Library? Firstly, this is just an individual project that we are inviting everyone to do in their own free time. Everyone is going to be purchasing their own materials. I wish the library could produce materials for you, but they are so expensive. If we did that, I don't think we'd have money to purchase anything else that the library is supposed to have. So unfortunately, it's just your own materials and on your own free time. This project is asynchronous and it's virtual. I know we've got people joining us today ranging from Alaska down to Florida, and so we are making this as accessible to everyone in NOAA as possible. And you can join in and start and finish at any time. And this program is not being sponsored or funded by NOAA. It's just a program that the NOAA Central Library is inviting everyone to join in. And the end goal is really just to have a cozy project for yourself, or to share with someone, or to donate. So this project includes mostly knitting and crocheting because that's where our expertise lies. But as I mentioned, any craft is welcome here. We are having one in-person kickoff event in Silver Spring next Tuesday. You'll get some more information about that later. But everything else is going to be virtual because we do have so many people across the country. The main part of this program is going to be a monthly newsletter. So that's going to be on a sign-up basis. And everyone who signed up and participating can contribute to that. We hope it's a really fun collective way to share what we're doing. And contributing and signing up to the listserv is only going to be available to NOAA employees, federal and affiliate. Although I've heard from many of you that you're planning on doing this project with your relatives, your partners, your friends, and we absolutely encourage you to do that. These projects are by no means a NOAA temperature blankets only, but some pieces of this program will be limited just to NOAA employees only. And we have a couple more activities in the works. Because this is the first year we're doing this, we are trying to come up with projects that everybody's really interested in, and we're hoping that you all can let us know what you want to do and how you want this program to develop. So the best way to find out more about that is to sign up for the newsletter, and we will be putting a link into the chat box to do that if you haven't yet. And lastly, why are we doing this? It's not just a fun project. I mean, of course it's fun and that's important, but there are some very real reasons why we are doing this. Firstly, we want to encourage everyone to using NOAA data in new ways. I know a lot of us just kind of marinate in data all day, every day, and it can feel a little bit like maybe not like the data is wasted, or like you wish you could do something else with all of this information. So we're just encouraging everyone to find a new way of using data that maybe you are already engaging with, or find a way to engage with NOAA data that you otherwise wouldn't use in your normal work activities. The second reason we're doing this is that it's a direct response to requests for more science communication seminars. So anytime you fill out a survey after one of our seminars, and there will be a survey after today's seminar that we would love for you to fill out. But anytime you fill out those surveys, we read all of those responses and we take those really seriously. And lately we've gotten a lot of requests for more topics on science communication. So this is one way that we are responding to our patrons' needs. And I will give another shameless plug. The NOAA Libraries Advisory Committee survey is open, and we really would love if everyone would fill that out. You'll also see a link to that in your chat box in just a moment. Federal affiliate, whoever you are, we would really love if you would fill that out. And then the last reason that we're doing this is to promote mental health, mindfulness, resilience, and just social connection. I think we've all heard from leadership at the highest level that it's really important to take care of our mental health and to be mindful. And so this is one way that we are encouraging that in NOAA. And I know that it can often feel like we are siloed a little bit and we're stuck in our own line offices. So we're trying to facilitate some social connections and to give you opportunities to build those relationships with people outside of your normal work activities. So we are really excited to get started. I just spewed out tons of information, but now I'm going to pass this off to Kurt to really get us started with the fun stuff today. So Kurt, take it away.
Unmute myself here. All right, here we go. Hopefully you all can see this. So long story short, I can talk about this for 2 hours, and so trying to consolidate it down to 10 minutes. I'll just set the stage really quickly here. Weather versus climate. So weather, think weather is like a short-term single occurrence. So like a baseball game, it's the hitter up to bat, just one pitch, one at bat. Climate would be like the entire season. So if you see the hitter hitting one swing and he hits a home run during that one single pitch, you can't really make a determination for the entire season whether or not that's the best home run hitter of all time or not. You need to take a look at every single bat, and that's kind of what climate does. Then like walking a dog, I have a dog who just turned 11. Cesar Milan might say, you walk the dog, not the other way around, but my dog just goes. I just kind of follow, and that's the way it's going to be. So like the dog's pattern might be kind of zigzaggy, but it goes in a direction. In this case, like the person is kind of the direction, like he just follows kind of a straight path while the dog is zigzaggy, but nonetheless, it's a path that paints the picture. Then also really quickly, climate change is something that we often use instead of global warming, just because climate change is like the whole system. So there's like precipitation, severe weather, rainfall, heavy rainfall events. That also is like a really big factor of climate change. Obviously, temperatures are the most discussed thing, but there's also other components. So, if you kind of want to expand the box beyond temperatures, you could look at data such as like snow cover over the mountains, temperature over the ocean, sea level, sea ice, ocean heat content, those types of things. And then even within temperatures, you could break it down to like overnight temperatures, for example. So just picking a random place, pick Nebraska. The nighttime low temperatures are getting warmer and warmer. Those are changing over time. If you look at record temperatures, like there are more record high temperatures than record low temperatures being set. Precipitation, so not just like the amount of rainfall, but maybe the amount of heavy rainfall events. We're seeing a change in that. Like the more events when it rains really heavily. That's what we're going to see more of as time goes on. But then when it's dry and droughty, the droughts are really stronger. So it's kind of like the extremes are starting to go up. So tornadoes, if one asks, like, are we getting more or less tornadoes related to climate change? Like, well, there isn't, it's pretty stable-ish in terms of just the pure number. However, the frequency of the large outbreaks are increasing. The tornado days are actually going down. So the days when tornadoes occur, are becoming less common. But when they do occur on a tornado day, we're starting to see more and more in that single day. And then jumping into the information sources. So I won't steal Jared's thunder too much here, but NCEI is the NOAA branch that has all the temperature, precipitation, et cetera, data at the local level. I don't want to steal Jared's thunder. But otherwise, like the climate assessment reports, there's regional climate centers. There's also state climate centers, and almost every state has a climatologist. Otherwise, the local offices here, if you go to weather.gov/climate, I'll do that in just a moment. That can get you to your local information. Otherwise, NCEI, there's this CHAMP tool, and XMASIS is a really good location as well. So in the short amount of time, again, obviously I don't have time to go through all these one by one, but I can take a look at XMASIS here. Hopefully this is showing up. I'm going to turn my camera off too. You all don't need to see me. There we go. So single station data. So like if you were curious at the extremes, you could look at all sorts of variables. So if you ask Kurt, it snowed a lot in this past week in Green Bay. Like what's the most amount of snow we've had in forever in Green Bay? Go. And drum roll. There we go. So last week there, in a single day to day, so this is like midnight to midnight, we just had the 7th highest snowfall total a few days ago. So somehow my hair isn't completely pulled out, but XMASIS is a source for those types of things. The CHAMP tool here, I should make this a little bit bigger. So here's another one. You can choose whatever theme you want. I'll pick Homer here. I'll go Wisconsin. We'll zoom all the way into the Green Bay area. So days with 1 precipitation, total annual precipitation, for example. You can click on that. You can show historical data, and you can see every year the annual precipitation in Green Bay. So it's kind of trickled up a little bit, but you can see if we mouse over there, you can get the data. And then you can control the time range as well. Temperatures, floody things, that's a source for that. COCORAs, so these are local stations across the country. Each weather service office kind of manages and maintains. So if you go to USA, again, I'll pick Wisconsin, I'll be a homer here because that's what I know. Brown County, and you can choose the date, do search station, so it'll zoom into the ones in our area. You can see when each station started having data and how active that they have been. So this is like a hyper local level. These are all towns around the Green Bay Metro. You can click on one. They have like the precip amounts, precip summary for each day. If you want to click on that, you can get daily data, precip summary, climatology, year by year. So all sorts of things at this station. Or that. And then I also promised some climate things or some weather service things. So weather.gov/climate services is the central hub. You can look at all sorts of information there. I'm going to pick now data as the thing to look at. So how do we access now data? What is now data? We can get to that from here, weather.gov/climate. So that also takes a look at like the localized things. So I'm going to pick the Green Bay area, but each forecast office will have its own city list in here. You could do daily data for a month. So we can pick December and go, and then that's how you get the December 2023 data, maximum, minimum, precipitation, snow depth, et cetera, et cetera. The daily almanac, so you can look at literally like the days. Obviously the 16th hasn't finished yet, so I'll go back to yesterday. So yesterday, the high temperature in Green Bay was a whopping 4 degrees above zero. There's the record high, 45, record low. Snowfall, no snow reported. month-to-date information, that type of things. Climatology for a day. So if you want to go see every January 16th in Green Bay, going back to the year 2000 here in this case, you can do that. I wonder if I type POR, period of record. So this can go every January 16th. So if you have an anniversary or a birthday, you can go all the way back to however long that station has existed and get the temperature data for that day. So that's pretty neat. Yeah. Otherwise, you can kind of look around here as well, observe weather data. So the CF6 is like the monthly report. So max temperatures for the month of January so far, in temperatures, snow. You can see that really heavy snow day, snow depth, 17 inches of snow on the ground right now, hooray. Yeah, so jumping back to here again, just a lot of information. Again, I could speak for hours on this. Climate.gov has a dashboard. So if you want to look at particular indicators, so for example, sea level, we can view the full indicator there. Then a lot of these sites, you kind of just have to scroll down, and somewhere in there you can find links to data. So like measuring sea level, future sea level rise. Yeah, so it somewhere in there is like a link to all the data, but you can see globally or graphically what it looks like and all the different elements. And with that note, I will kick it over to Jared to kind of bring us home.
All right, stand by. I'm doing some screen sharing here. And let's see, okay. All right. I'm assuming you all can see my slides that say NCEI overview. Thanks, Kurt. That was a great, quick, 5-10 minute intro about all the different kinds of data you can get. Just like Kurt, I can talk about this for 2 hours, and I would, but one, it's lunchtime on the East Coast, and two, I have to go pick up my kid because of weather, so I actually do have to stop in about 5-10 minutes. But no, thank you all for joining. So yeah, Kurt, again, gave a really good overview of things. XMASIS, climate.gov, those are really two really good resources you should go to. We'll be able to provide all these links to you all to look at. I am specifically going to talk about NCEI. So for those that don't know, NCEI stands for the National Centers for Environmental Information. If you are a more tenured federal employee, you may have heard us about 10 years ago, we changed our name from the National Climatic Data Center. We are housed here in Asheville, North Carolina, so we're in the mountains of Western North Carolina. We actually have been here since the 1950s, and we have been tasked to basically archive all things weather, water, and climate. We partnered with the National Geophysical Data Center and the National Oceanic Data Center 10 years ago, so we actually have more than just weather and climate. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But we have, for those that are technologically savvy, we have about, I think the number now is something like 60 petabytes of data. That's a lot of data that we have here in our building. Hold on 1 second, my screen froze up. There we go. Yeah, so our mission is to provide environmental data, products, and services covering from the depths of the ocean to the surface of the sun. So that's a lot of, not just weather and climate. We have lots of scientific data, pretty much any kind of data that NOAA provides. We're basically tasked to archive. We're tasked by the US government. We're tasked by the WMO, which is the World Meteorological Organization. We're one of the big data centers for weather and climate data. And then our vision is, we're a tenacious and trusted leader in environmental information for a rapidly changing world with a focus on good across all these different types of partnerships, We're under NOAA. NOAA is under the Department of Commerce. So we do think about things like the blue economy and dealing with those that are, vulnerable to impacts of weather and climate. So again, weather and climate is kind of the bread and butter, but we do way more than that to help to help build a sustainable economy within commerce. We're kind of famous, or depending on your interpretation, we might be infamous for this type of graphic. You may have heard last Friday, there was a big press release that came out. NOAA, along with NASA, we kind of came out and said, well, 2023 was the warmest year on record globally. It was the 5th warmest for the US, but globally, we are the warmest. And that's another big thing about us at NCEI is while we are the official US archiver, we don't just archive the US. We have global data as well. We work with many different weather service offices all around the world, many different organizations. We do a lot of data rescue. If you ever come to our building, our basement, we have paper records of really historical information. It's really cool to see. But yeah, our bread and butter is, temperature and precipitation, and that's kind of, the reason for the blankets here. People always want to ask, how do you get our data? Kurt kind of alluded to it. There's a few places, but what NCEI provides is something called Climate at a Glance. I'm not going to I don't have the ability to do kind of a live demo because I'll go way over on time. But this link here, you can get access. It's a pretty snazzy tool. You can kind of slice and dice certain things. You can do it by, you can get global data. You can get national data, but you can hone down to your county level or even your city. We have select cities in there as well. And you can get things like temperature and precipitation, some other related variables, like for those that in the energy business, you can get cooling degree days, heating degree days. There's drought information in here as well. And you can get these numbers, you can get the raw value, you can get what we call an anomaly, which is kind of you base it, you compare, like, for example, you're comparing 2023 to a baseline. So it could be, the 20th century baseline, it could be a 30-year baseline like 1991 to 2020. And then from here, you can get, you can get an image of the graph, you can get a CSV of the file, and you can get a few other formats as well that can be used to visualize the data. Again, it's a really snazzy tool. But the other thing I'm going to mention here is that, since we had this reorg about 10 years ago, we have all this different kinds of data as well. So it's not just temperature or precipitation. We have things like paleoclimatology. So we have, ice cores, tree rings. We have that data in here. We have data along the coasts. So, like elevation models. We have sea surface temperature. We have salinity. Things in the Gulf of Mexico, currents. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think. We have wind roses. We have different depths of the ocean as well. And again, in some cases, this could be global. It's not just the US. We have something called the World Magnetic Model, which was just recently updated. Upper air observations. We also archive all the satellite data. So when you have, like typical one, when you look at cloud cover across the US, we have that, but we have all the derived products they make, like flooding information, wildfire information. We also have space weather data as well. That's kind of a new big thing within NOAA. All the the information that you can get from the ionosphere or the stuff that sort of creates the solar flares that we see up in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. We have all that. So we have tons and tons and tons of data, and our website, this is kind of where you start. This is the link you can go to. And then you can kind of just peruse, depending on the data set. Sometimes they have visualizations, like a GIS layer that you can kind of play with. Sometimes it just gives you the straight data that you can use yourself. It really depends on the data set. And that's all I really have. I could go into more detail, but in the interest of time, I won't. But those are the two links I kind of talked about already. One thing I will say is that we have a generic sort of like a customer service email, so it's ncei.orders@noaa.gov. It may sound very generic and boring, but they're actually really good. We have a really good customer service team that will respond to any inquiry you have usually within 24 hours, as long as federal office hours are open. They do, you can go to the website. Sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes you might get stuck like, oh, where should I be? They're super helpful and we'll work with you on getting the data. Also, you can contact me because I pretty much play with this data all the time. And so I'm always willing to help provide data for you. And speaking of blankets, some of you might have heard of this climate stripe. So this is a temperature data set, but it doesn't have any information other than the colors, and basically it just shows that things are warming very rapidly. And this is just one of the data visualizations I work on, but many other things as well. So that's all I have. Again, Kurt kind of hit the nail on the head on most of the stuff, but we at NCEI are here to help you as well. So thanks.
Jared and Kurt, thank you both so much. Let me turn on my webcam and get my screen back up. I know we are at time, so I'm just going to go super fast. Thank you again, both. This was fantastic. And to everyone who's listening in, if you are overwhelmed by the amount of data, you are not alone. We will be putting together a document that has all of this information so you can revisit it and work on creating your own data set for your blanket. So look for our follow-up email with additional documents. For anyone who joined late, just to reiterate, we will be sending out an email to everybody who registered today. It will have additional supplementary documents, as well as a link to this recording if you want to watch it again. So the next step after that is going to be choosing your data, your design, and your materials, and more information and instructions will be in your email soon. If you haven't, make sure to sign up for the monthly newsletter so you can hear about a few more activities that we have planned for this program. And lastly, if you are located in the Silver Spring area, we would love to see you next Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. We are having a kickoff cast on meetup at the library, very informal. Feel free to bring your lunch and to sit with us to start your projects. If you are a beginner and you're just learning and you'd like some help getting started, this is a perfect time to do that. But other than that, I know we have a few questions and we don't have time to get to those today. I'm already over by a couple of minutes. We will be following up with those questions via email for everybody to hear answers. So thank you again, Kurt and Jared. This was fantastic. We appreciate your expertise so much, and we're really excited to get this started. So thank you all. And to anyone who's experiencing some inclement weather, we hope that everybody is safe and stays warm and cozy. So thank you all again. This was fantastic.